Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Hypnosis Shop Talk and Morning Coffee with me, Jen Snow. I am your soul regression coach, clinical hypnotherapist, Reiki master, energy worker, animal communicator, all that good stuff. So I'm here today because it's morning coffee and it's Friday. Welcome. How is everybody today? I just want to say thank you for taking your time, joining the show, and spending your Friday morning with me. So cheers, everybody. So today we're going to talk about a couple of things. Normally, it's like a recap of our week for those of us who are joining the morning coffee and the shop talk with Jen. And where we talk kind of about just the things that have happened this week when it comes to my own self-reflections, my journey with clients. And so that is going to be the first thing we go into. And then I'm going to give you guys some tools and some tips, an easy kind of way to start learning how to do some of your own past life regression work. In your own space. So the reason why I think that's super important is because, well, when I started my journey into becoming a clinical hypnotherapist, I was faced with a huge health crisis. And once I was through school, I realized that I could do some of the work on my own and how vital that would be. Because when you work with a therapist, a hypnotherapist, especially, it is client-based therapy. It is 100% client-based therapy. And you come in like, hey, this is what's going on with me. This is kind of the avenue you want to work on. And we explore it with you. And we guide you into that place, into the deep space of your subconscious mind, where you can access that inner space, where you can access that guidance, that knowingness, that understanding of, what that looks like for you and what that means for you, and what you need to shift that story, change that perception, release that peace, and go through that past life. Or for those of you who are not sure past life exists, you can look at it as a metaphor that your subconscious mind is asking you to work through so that you can release what is binding you to that metaphor, or AKA past life, depending on where your views lie. For those, I have to say, I never didn't believe in past lives. I definitely 100% did believe in past lives before I even became a clinical hypnotherapist. But I had really diving into my first past life, which was my first hypno regression session, really opened up, that solidified that yes, we are multiple incarnation beings, and that being a multiple incarnation being means that we have multiple experiences, and for different purposes, different reasons. We all choose, in my opinion, in my sense, from my experience, we all choose our incarnations, and we're all very aware of the path each incarnation can potentially take, the opportunity to take, some good, bad, and indifferent. And we are at a soul level prepared for that. But that doesn't mean that we're not affected by it. Like, we have fragments of our soul body that, get stuck and lost in time, that get, I see this all the time with, the soul pieces get stuck in a past life because of the trauma that you experienced in that past life. So there's that version of you, that imprint of you that is in your past life and remains there, which means that connection is very strong. That connection is very deep. Good morning, Purple Princess. How are you today? Happy Friday. Thanks for coming. Cheers. And TGIF, it is Friday. Woo! Not that, right? This weekend I'm working all weekend, but it's Friday. I don't know why, but Fridays always feel like, I've made it. Even if I'm working Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, like right through, but it's just that little bit of, we made it. So like I was saying, we can have fragments of our light body, our soul body, our super consciousness that remains imprinted upon an experience in the quantum field. And what happens is, in our present incarnation, the one that we are presently conscious of while in this physical reality, there is a cell memory that is connected to that past life, to that metaphor. And we can have experiences that we emotionally perceive that are similar. So it starts triggering that old experience, and that old experience comes into this present incarnation and begins to your subconscious mind, it's only one of its only biggest jobs is to protect you. So when there's that old imprint there saying stranger danger, we start to live from that. That's why, I find a lot of people when we work on anxiety or the reoccurring patterns and themes that people are going through, a lot of it has, to do with a connection to an alternate incarnation. And when we shift that imprint through that past life regression, the soul regression work, that imprint is now goes into a space of experience, a space of understanding, a space of knowledge, a space of remote viewing it. So you can look at it without being emotionally connected to it, which then unwinds the rope that ties to your present incarnation and unwinds that emotional imprint, so that the emotions that you felt in that other incarnation are not adding to or holding you stuck in a space in this present incarnation, and reliving it. So it's really important when you find these, and it's so people come in all the time and they're like, I feel this way, but I don't know why. And I would say 8 times out of 10, and maybe even 9 times out of 10, to be honest with you, most of it is because there's a past life that there was a huge emotional imprint and a huge emotional traumatic experience, and a piece of their soul is still resonating in that frequency and that vibration of that imprint of that past incarnation. And it is now active in this incarnation, like I said, because one thing that we are emotional beings. We are souls having a physical incarnation, but we live in through our emotions, our perceptions, everything is really being created that way. And so when those two, when past and present link up, they become stronger, they become more profound, and they really do trigger the subconscious mind to continue. Like, now we're in that stranger danger place, that my job is to protect you. So we start going through these different things, or we start reliving things that we don't necessarily have to relive. And that's one reason when we go back into that soul regression work, is that you've already done it. You've been there and done it. You got the handbag, the t-shirt, the lipstick, everything. You've lived that incarnation, and you've finished that incarnation. And hopefully that the lessons have been learned, and you can look at it and be like, hey, yeah, I've been there. I don't need to repeat this. And that kind of takes the power back. You get the power of choice. You can continue to repeat that theme and that pattern and that reoccurring pattern over again, absolutely, after even remote viewing it. That is totally and completely up to you. Or you can go, okay. And one of the things that we do in the soul regression is we look at that past life. We look at the purpose of it. We look at the lessons learned. We looked at the process of, getting into that higher space, that higher consciousness. You kind of have access to the understanding and the wisdom of perhaps why you chose that life, what the purpose of that life was, and how and what and when and where. But then you kind of get this opportunity to go, okay, thank you. I have learned that lesson. I can place that life, that incarnation in my record space, but not in my active space. And it becomes like a book that you can go and read, but you're not emotionally connected to it. So you look at it, you can see the purpose of it, but there is that disconnect of emotion where you're not reliving that life over and over again. And on the flip side, though, and I do this quite often, we can bring something back from a past life that it's positive. I have lots of clients that go to past lives to find their inner power, their inner connection, their inner intuitive gifts, their inner confidence, their flow of abundance. I've had clients go back and find their wealth, that vibration, that energy of wealth, and bring it back into this incarnation. And as long as it lines up in that blueprint that you created before you came down into this incarnation, that stuff can all come back with you. And then we can reactivate that cell memory, which helps you move forward in this incarnation with a different vibration, a different mindset, a different outlook, a different perception of yourself and the world around you. So there's so much we can do. And when we really start to focus on that regression work and going back and seeing what we've experienced, truly, I believe this, and because of my own experience, I think there's nothing more powerful than going back and seeing what you can see and know what you can know and understand it from a different perspective, instead of it being something that is controlling your personal perception and outlook. you're now in a space where you become the observer and the witness, and you go into that neutral space. You guys have heard me talk about the neutral space. You're not in a space of wanting or needing, you're in a neutral space. So you're in a space of choice. You're in a space of power, because now nothing is pulling you from one side, the other side. You're choosing to go to one side or the other side. You're choosing to create what it is that you want. And it doesn't have that low frequency of like lack and scarcity attached to it, or worry or stress or tension, or doubt, or any thought patterns or beliefs that you're not enough. So that is one of the biggest things I think it's important to perhaps take a journey with soul regression work, whether it's with me or anybody else in the world. You got to find your person. Say this all the time. If you don't vibe with the person you're working with, the experience is going to be different. You have to find your person. It's super important to find your person, because when you find your person, that level of trust, that level of, okay, here we go, changes. It just gets bigger and stronger. And that, oh my God, is it going to work? Or that nervousness or that like hesitation kind of just melts away. And it's just such an important thing. That's why you can see this little thing scrolling here on my screen, and it's like to book your free discovery call, because the point of that discovery call is for us to decide and figure out and kind of get an idea if we can work together. Because if I'm not your person, that's great. I'm going to help you find your person, because your person is super important. When we're doing this regression work, we are going into the deepest depths of ourselves, the core of who we are, into that home base. And we're accessing that information. And that's, it is intimate. It is, but you don't have to reveal any of it. That's the funniest part. Everybody thinks when they come to hypnosis, they're going to tell their deep, dark secrets, and you don't unless you want to. And I've been that guy where I was like, didn't share anything with anybody I was working with. I just kind of knew what I needed. And and that's part of the process, is guiding people into that place. And if they don't want to share, then, having the tools to be able to help them get where they need to go so that they can do it, but allowing and honoring and respecting the fact that the person in the chair doesn't want to share what's going on, and you don't have to. There's nobody that can make you share anything. And that's one of the biggest myths about hypnosis that I really find, is that there's this ideal that you're not in control when you're in the chair. You are absolutely 100% in control. You will only go as deep as you want to go. You will only go to the spaces where you can heal. That's the other thing about this journey, is if your subconscious mind believes or knows that you cannot, it's going to be too much, it will not let you go there. It will put up a wall. It will take you somewhere else that is similar, that you can heal, that will start to lessen the impact of the origin and the root cause, so that it can reveal itself in time when you're in a space where you're more ready to, look at it and process through it. So that is, another thing about this work, is that I know without a shadow of a doubt that if you go somewhere, you're prepared and ready to go there. It can be impactful, it can be emotional, it can be like, what the fuck just happened? But at the end of the day, when you come out of the process and your physical, mental, emotional, and vibrational layers and beings have all settled into the new cellular activation that has happened, the frequency and vibration activation, the process of the aha moments come through, and it will change. And the way that you carried the past will definitely change how you move forward in your present and your future. And so that is one thing, like, it's so big. It's so cool too, watching you guys. Like I said, hypnotherapy is client-based. You guys have all the answers. And yeah, I know how to help get you, to that place where those answers reveal themselves, and help you implement them when you tell me how you want to implement them. But you do have the answers. The core of your answers are deep in here, and they're inside. And I know we don't all know it. We're all like, well, then how come I don't have the answers consciously? Because our conscious mind gets in the way. It gets in the way. It can cause us to second guess our intuition, or that first thought that you have, or that knowingness. And based on experience, and so when we get into hypnosis, when we get into trance work, that conscious mind is not actively standing in the way. It's actually just stepping aside, going, okay, subconscious, you got this, high five, I'm going to take a rest now. And that doesn't mean you don't hear it. That doesn't mean you're not actively a part of it and not aware of it. It just means that there's no the layer of resistance, or the layer of doubting just kind of becomes less or non-existent for the process. And when you come forward, the conscious mind, because it's experienced it with you through the subconscious mind, it starts to doubt less. It starts to be in a different space of understanding and acknowledgement. So that is the process. And the reason I wanted to talk about these topics today is because I want to talk about a way that you could do this on your own, a way that you could deep dive and have your subconscious reveal the next step in your journey. I mean, we're all on a journey. And you know what? Sometimes you got to take a break from the healing journey. I'm the first person to tell you, if it's becoming overwhelming and you are totally entrenched in it, but it's exhausting, step back, take a break. And the reason we talk about stepping back and taking a break is because sometimes you have to step back. Sometimes you have to let the dust settle. Sometimes you need to take a moment, take a breath from it, because there's something that needs to reveal itself. But because we're so hyper focused, so center focused on one thing, we're not seeing the whole picture. We get very, and I experienced this. I got very narrow minded in my journey. I was like, woo, but it wasn't going anywhere. And I was getting really frustrated. I was getting super upset with it. And I was actually getting angry. I was like, and I was mad that I wasn't going anywhere in the sessions. I was just kind of like flatlined in a way. It was there, but the emotional connection wasn't there. Like, I was going places, but I wasn't emotionally connected to it. And that's the biggest thing when we look for, is where you find that emotional connection, that heightened emotion. It usually tells us that we're in the right spot. And I was stalled out, totally stalled out. And at first I thought it was something wrong with me. What's wrong with me? And then so I got more frustrated. So I stalled out even more. And then I had this thought that I needed to take some time. I actually took a couple months off. Most people that were making headway in their journey don't want to take some time off. They're like, nope, got to keep going, got to keep pushing. I want to get this done now. That impatience becomes a line in the sand in a way, because when we get impatient with it, we get expectation. When we get expectations, we are in the way and we are no longer in flow. We are now treading in different water. And we are creatures of instant gratification. We all live in a world of instant gratification. None of us, in my opinion, most of us are not in some reach, not affected by that. I'm a very patient person. I'm very open to waiting, but I have my instant gratification moments where I'm like, oh, no. I admit it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but it does create, when you're on a journey of self-evolution, self-growth, and transformation and understanding, instant gratification isn't always a part of that journey. I mean, we get instant change when we find where we're supposed to go next, for sure. Hard and soft change, as I always talk about it. Soft change is that you change and you don't really instantly recognize it, and then you have a aha moment down the road that you're like, oh my God. Usually somebody said something like, wow, you really, and you're like, oh, I have, sweet. And you're like, oh, that's where this came from, got it. Or you do a session and you dive into something, and all of a sudden you're like, a couple days, month later, you're like, oh, get it. I had a client that I've been working with, and she had a big aha moment. Sent me a message, and I had known about this because of my intuitive mediumship abilities, but it is not my job to put that out there. That's not, in my opinion, does not keep you in your flow of empowerment and self-discovery. So I've made notes, and as we go, I just, kind of check them off as they reveal themselves, and those aha moment happens. And she had it, and we were just I was so excited for her, because that aha moment has been like the blanket over. We have been trudging through on the outer layers of this, but now we're sitting there, and she can put to words the core of things. And when we get the words of the core, look out, guys. Here we go. Change is about to be fast and instant. And we started and now this core is actually multiple layers. There's 3 layers to this core, but we worked on the first layer through parts therapy and regression work, and there's a couple parts there that we're working through, but it's all interconnected. And it's just that we have those moments. But impatience creates frustration, and when you get frustrated, you get in your way, you get out of flow. So sometimes we need to take a beat. Sometimes we need to take a moment and be like, okay, I need to step back from this. I need to step back and see where this takes me. I'm not open to diving in when I know what I need to dive into. Sorry, I'm going to step back and let it reveal itself. And I am going to be open to the synchronicities and I'm going to be open to the process, but you're just taking a moment to, okay, and give yourself that moment. Let the change that you've already made settle in and see where it takes you, both physically, mentally, emotionally, and vibrationally. And in that way, okay, this is my next step. And you kind of open that process. So if you're at a space where you're kind of frustrated with your journey, you're kind of like, this isn't working, take a beat, take a step back, take a deep breath, and just put it down for a second. Put it down for a couple days, put it down for a week, and just, I'm not saying give up on your healthy habits or your positive habits, but I'm saying put the need to find the next avenue, just put it down. Let it come to you. Do your practices, your meditation, your trance work. Do your activity works that where you can kind of get out of your head and answers come to you. Or open yourself up. Go for a drive if that's your thing, where you go for a drive and you get all that information and you get that kind of clarity. But just put it down. Put it down. Let it sit. Just take a moment. And you'd be surprised when we kind of take a step back and go, okay, I am giving myself just time right now. And how the next layer, when it's meant to reveal itself, will reveal itself quite easily and quite clearly. And so then you pick it up and you go again. And that is like a big thing, I think, because if we get exhausted, if we get healing exhausted, journey exhausted, we're not enjoying the process. The process now is just a pain in the ass, and it's something we have to do. And let's be honest, as humans, most of us don't like doing anything we have to do. We want to do the things we want to do that bring us joy and fulfillment. And so when you have to do something, we actually bring a different energy to that. We bring a different tone to that. We bring a different expression to that. And it's not always comfortable. It's not always fun. And so we got to just take a moment, and you got to know, as you go on these journeys, as you go on these adventures within, you are going to get to know yourself a little bit more. You may not always like what you see, but that's fine, because those things that we maybe don't, how do I say this? The things that we maybe don't love about ourselves, there's a purpose to them. And when we understand their purpose, we understand why we have that shadow, that shade, we can turn that shadow and shade back into the light that it truly is. And we can shift that shade and shadow into light body, and show it how to shine once again. So even if you're finding things like, oh my God, I don't want myself, that's okay. We got to work through it. And when you work through it, you will discover that shadow, that shade was just a piece of you that forgot how to shine and glow and shimmer and be bright and be on the positive side versus the shade side. And the shade side has purpose. The shadow side has purpose. And it's not a bad thing. Actually, it's a great thing, because when we get into a place of understanding and the purpose of it and the reveal of it, we now are in a place of empowerment, because when we can sit with it, when we can work through it, we can bring it back to the light that it always was, that just forgot how to shine. You now are in a space of choice. So you get to choose. And I've seen this so much in my chair as we go into the shadow or shade of things, that at the end of the day, when those pieces learn how to glow and learn how to come back to their light frequency and reintegrate in the light frequency form versus the shadow form, what a powerful piece of your light body, your soul, reintegrates into the mind, the body, into the emotional, mental being, and how that becomes a source of evolution. And it's just like, there are like, you just begin to put your puzzle pieces together in a different way, and putting that puzzle piece together in a different way, and you putting it together really changes how you hold yourself, how you hold your vibration, how that vibration holds you. So it's a very, very cool and empowering experience. And as you level up your energies, you level up your space, you'll continue to feel that self connection as you expand into it. And so,
alert from low battery.
Apparently my battery's low and I forgot my charger in Vernon. So I'm going to quickly wrap this up. And if I disappear, I apologize, and I will finish it through a post, but on my phone. which I might be able to like log in on my phone. So the tool for today is, when we do our meditations, I often teach people to focus on those tiny little muscles in and around their eyes to the point where they're completely soft and loose. So soft and loose that if somebody walked into the room and asked you a question, you wouldn't open your eyes to answer them because you wouldn't want to break that deep softness, that deep calmness, that deep space of connection. And when you're there, from there, imagine regressing back to the womb and being in the womb. And from the womb, you have access to the space and time before you were in that womb. So once you're in the womb, just setting your intention of where you want to go and ask your soul to take you there. Ask your guides and guardians to take you there. And through the womb, you will follow that cord that brought you into the womb, out and into a past life. So that is one way to do your own work, one way to begin to learn how to regress and go into different alternate incarnations. My suggestion on top of that would be pick something positive the first couple times you do it. Go to a life where you were confident. Go to a life where you were connected to Mother Earth or connected to your intuitive mediumship abilities, or where you had find something positive so that you learn to know, you're teaching yourself how you're going to perceive that, how you're going to interact with that. And ask your guides to give you the remote view portion of it so that you can step back and look at it from an observation lens versus the full regression lens the first couple times. And that way you'll get used to the process. When you get used to and comfortable with the process, it does make it easier to go into the lives that need, where you feel you drawn, where you could create healing and self-change. And so that is one quick tool to do your own past life regression. Again, getting your eyelids to the point where you don't want to open your eyes, and then setting that intention to go back to the womb in this incarnation. And when you feel that you're in the womb in this incarnation and you're in that space of connection, setting a second intention with your guides and guardians, asking them to step forward again, and make sure when you feel them. And then from there, asking them to take you to an incarnation where you can remote view something that you want to discover. Even if it's a mundane, boring life, just like, can I go back to a boring life incarnation that I lived? So that you get used to the process. Getting used to the process. That is once you're used to the process, that piece of the puzzle is integrated, it's solid, and now we can start deepening the other parts. So, all right, guys, that's morning coffee with Jen. That's Shop Talk, Hypnosis Shop Talk. So we will not be live on Monday because I am on the coast and my hours are extended right now. So, but we will be live next Wednesday. And next Wednesday is a very special show, actually. I have a friend, a colleague of mine, who's going to guide me into hypnosis to work on the part of me that holds on to things and people that no longer serve my greatest and highest good. But we're going to do it live, and we're going to utilize this as a teaching process. So she's going to take me through the steps, but she's also going to we're going to step back and explain the steps while I'm in hypnosis, because things like that do not distract me. And so that you guys can see the full regression process, so that you can see what it's like, what it looks like. I honestly don't have the answers as to where I'm going consciously. I think I've done my best not to tap into it when I finally recognized that this was a pattern of mine. So we're going to unwind a recurring pattern of mine, and we're going to do it live. So you guys will see wherever we go, wherever we are is going to be tried and true. And I'm not sure what that's going to look like. I'm not sure where we're going to end up, or if it's going to be in this life or a past life, but we're going to go somewhere. We're going to unwind a reoccurring pattern. And so this way you guys can see the experience. You can see the process, and just have a better understanding of the process, and might help you, choose to look into this process as your next step in your journey, and kind of take away some of that what if. What does it look like? What could happen? And so, yeah, that's what we're doing Wednesday, the 30th. 31st. How many days are in May? I think it's 31. It is totally 31. Yeah, 31. So it'll be Wednesday the 31st at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And it will be the journey of me unwinding a recurring pattern, something I work with all the time. So something came up for me, and I thought I would share it with everybody. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend. If this is something that resonates with you, you can book your free consult call, your free discovery call at blendedconnections.com with me. It's a half an hour call over Zoom where we just talk about where you're at, what you need, and how I can help. And from there, we just dive into things. And then if you choose to continue with the process, we'll set up your first session. And yeah. And if you're curious about what this process looks like and what it could potentially look like, join us on the 31st of May at 7 p.m. for this live hypnotherapy soul regression session. All right, guys, cheers. Happy Friday. Thank you for being here, and I will talk soon.